Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at 10 games that gave their IPs a shot at redemption, only to crash and burn harder than before. Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Medal of Honor. By 2010, Call of Duty was dominating not just online gaming, but every video game scene. People just could not get enough of Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. EA was already trying to get a slice of the pie with Battlefield, but maybe it could get away with double dipping through a new Medal of Honor game? It could be a chance to revive the IP. Alas, nope. Medal of Honor wasn't the worst game that launched in 2010, but it was definitely lacking in quality. Why settle for a game that ran at a subpar level and wasn't visually impressive when you could be playing Modern Warfare 2? Again, it isn't a horrible game, but Medal of Honor needed to match COD before making a proper comeback. Disney Infinity 3.0.
Focus your mind, you must. More than this, than just an invasion, there is.
Skylanders dominated the Toys to Life scene for so long while LEGO Dimensions was shut down after 2 years of toys. As for Disney Infinity, well, it kinda floundered every step of the way after the first game. Not only did users have to keep buying new waves of figures and power discs, they were also expected to pay for each new iteration of the game. After 2 years, things were just getting too costly for players, publisher Disney Interactive Studios, and its manufacturing partners.
And these friends, they have credits.
Do they have credits?
Despite strong sales, maintaining Disney Infinity with content and server support was most likely getting too expensive for Disney to keep going. And so, the 3.0 version was the last version. Now, developer Avalanche Software is making bank with one of Disney's competitors through Hogwarts Legacy.
You want to do business? Come back when you have enough salvage to trade.
Evolve. We could go on about the awful marketing and demand for pre-orders that came before Evolve even showed gameplay, but the real problem behind Evolve, the thing that really killed it, was its poor balance. Every game was a sweat fest for both sides. You either got bullied as the monster, or you got trampled as the hunters. It just wasn't fun. There was an attempt to wrangle in more players in 2018 though. Evolved adopted a free-to-play model, but by this point, it was too little too late. The transition happened when Fortnite was poppin', and many had already forgotten about Evolve by the time 2K and developer Turtle Rock Studios announced that the game was shutting down. Womp womp. Alone in the Dark.
My name is Edward Cornby, private investigator. I hope you don't mind we let ourselves inside.
I do mind. This is private property. You can't just barge in here.
Alone in the Dark has had several chances to make a comeback. The new Nightmare was nothing remarkable, nothing offensive, but nothing worth writing home about. The 2008 reboot was a disaster in its story, visuals, and gameplay. Then we had the equally atrocious 2015 game, Alone in the Dark Illumination. And what about this new reboot, the 2024 iteration published by THQ Nordic? How is this fourth opportunity to make a comeback? It's nothing special, and it's certainly not too great either. The controls are a bit wonky, and the story is just not interesting despite the use of dual protagonists, and frankly, it's pretty damn messy. I have no idea what was going on in my time in the game. And wouldn't you know it, the developers shut down merely 3 months after the game launched. Probably because of poor sales. Who knows if we'll ever see Alone in the Dark back in the limelight? We're not holding our breath. There's something cursed about this franchise, man.
My weapon broke.
Shenmue 3.
Excuse me.
Huh? What is it? Don't get all cozy with me.
Sorry to bother you.
One of the biggest complaints Shenmue fans had was that the second game left much of the story unresolved. However, because of how expensive it was to produce the games, Sega had no financial incentive to continue the story. Fans begged for at least one more game to properly bring Ryo's story to a close. Yu Suzuki had that chance when Shenmue 3's Kickstarter launched in 2015. 4 years later, the game launches, and it does nothing the fans wanted it to. If anything, Shenmue 3 created even more loose ends and left those untied. Even more infuriating was when Suzuki remarked about how he saw Shenmue going on for even more games. So after Shenmue 2, we waited 14 years for a proper sequel to properly close out the story, only to get no progression, no ending, not even evolution in some gameplay. Great.
I'll save it for later.
Saints Row.
Okay, so we got the name, we got the home base, we got the logo.
So that means next step is to find people that can shoot guns?
No.
Though it didn't spend as long of a time being dormant as Shenmue did, Saints Row's return was just as upsetting. Some fans wanted the same crazy superpower nonsense we got in Saints Row 4, while others wanted the gritty GTA clones we got in the first 2 games. Neither fan base was satisfied with the 2022 reboot.
You challenging me? I need to reload!
Saints Row had the humor of a tween boy discovering profanity for the first time, the writing of a lackluster Netflix comedy, and the gameplay of your average, effortless open-world game. There isn't much else here outside of the admittedly flexible character creator.
I'm gonna say this one last time. Stay away from JR. I didn't like that.
Battleborn. Oh, poor Battleborn never stood a chance when it was launching so close to Blizzard's Overwatch, despite being a MOBA with a PvE campaign. And it was a story campaign too, Blizzard. Sadly, so many wrongfully dismissed the game as a clone of Overwatch. Sales and player count were so low that Gearbox wound up making a drastic shift to a free-to-play model, despite once saying the move wasn't even being considered. Sadly, there was no saving the game. Battleborn would be removed from sale in November 2019, with its servers closing in January 2021. There is a community effort to get the game's PvE campaign available as an offline mode, but its functionality is super limited. Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero was once a thriving franchise, but quickly wore out its audience when Activision had developer Neversoft start belting out games every few months. The late 2000s were loaded with Guitar Hero handheld games, spin-offs focusing on specific bands, and more. Folks got fatigued, and so they stopped buying, and so Guitar Hero went away. Activision did try reviving the IP in 2015 with a new game and a new guitar controller, but audiences just weren't biting. Not when the game and controller were more expensive and the controls were more complicated. Executives at both Xbox and Activision have expressed interest in giving the IP a third shot, but if the 2015 reboot couldn't find an audience, who would buy this one? It doesn't help that Fortnite now has its own Guitar Hero game mode, and it's surprisingly pretty solid. Overwatch 2. Oh, what do you know? Overwatch suffered a painful death too? Yeah, and it was by its own developer. In 2020, Blizzard dropped the last playable character and announced that they were done updating the game with new characters and maps, right when live service games were finding new audiences. Support ceased as the team aimed to finish development on Overwatch 2, but man, what a massive mistake that turned out to be. Activision Blizzard forced players to transition over to the sequel by shutting down every piece, every aspect of the original game. With nowhere else to go, fans had no choice but to see what all of the hullabaloo was in Overwatch 2, only to find that the only new things here were a more boring UI and maps that took place at different times of the day. Ooh, a shift in light source. How wonderful. Sure, thousands are still playing the game today, but we all know that more fans were burned enough to outright leave. Yours truly being one of them. Marvel's Avengers.
Sounds pretty big for an accident.
There are no accidents.
Thor, Tony, check it out. At once.
Try to keep up.
Through a few expansions, several updates, and even the removal of microtransactions, Marvel's Avengers had so many opportunities to make things right with players, and yet it didn't, because it couldn't. With a lackluster story, boring gameplay, overly simplistic combat, and an annoying focus on gear and power levels, Avengers turned out to be a complete waste of everybody's time.
All hands, the Chimera is under attack. Evacuate the civilians.
Upon suffering a $60 million loss, Square Enix had no choice but to sell off developer Crystal Dynamics over to Embracer Group and go through a major corporate restructure to save itself. Marvel's Avengers received its final update in March 2023 before its servers were unplugged in September 2023. Which video game do you think failed at reviving itself? Did it make our list? Let us know down in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.
We have to get to the village.
Let's go. Do you have any idea where your father might have gone?
No, I don't.